Hello guys and welcome back. Previously, we have demonstrated the anthropological evidence that grouped the ancient Egyptians with North Africans and other Caucasoid populations. In this episode, we will present the genetic makeup of the ancient Egyptians and their haplogroups. The study was conducted in 2017 by a team of scientists from the University of Tübingen, the University of Cambridge, the Polish Academy of Sciences, the Berlin Society of Anthropology, Ethnology and Prehistory, and lastly, the Max Planck Institute for the Science of Human History in Jena. The site where these ancient Egyptian inhabitants lived is located almost in the middle of Egypt and have been radiocarbon dated to circa 1400 BCE during the Egyptian New Kingdom and 400 CE, which is the Roman era. Meaning, we have ancient Egyptian samples before and after the foreign role in Egypt. This information will be of use later. The purpose of this study was to study the genetic continuity of the ancient Egyptians, and if they were affected on the genetic level by the Romans or the Ptolemies. Mitochondrial genomes from 90 individuals and genome-wide single nucleotide polymorphisms data from 3 individuals obtained from the Egyptian mummies. The Schunemann et al. Study concluded 3 main things. The mummies of the ancient Egyptians over a 1,300-year timespan weren't affected by foreign DNA, and that's what Wolfgang Hack, the group leader at the Max Planck Institute, had to say about that point.
The genetics of the Abusir el-Melek community did not undergo any major shifts during the 1,300-year timespan we studied, suggesting that the population remained genetically relatively unaffected by foreign conquest and rule.
That clear data from highly prestigious institutions indicate that these mummies were native Egyptians and they remained genetically unchanged after the Roman and Greek era. Based on the DNA they extracted from these ancient Egyptians, they had DNA predominantly found in the Middle East and Northern Africa, but not sub-Saharan Africa. One individual was found to have the SLC24A5, which is the gene responsible for the lighter skin pigmentation. Parabon Nanolabs has successfully reconstructed their face based on the genome data from the Schunemann et al. Study, and here how the ancient Egyptians looked like. The analyzed ancient Egyptian samples shared similar haplogroups with present-day Egyptians, but with an increased amount of sub-Saharan African mitochondrial haplogroup. These haplogroups weren't found in the ancient Egyptians. And on the genomic level, the present-day Egyptians were found to have inherited 8% sub-Saharan African DNA due to the trans-Saharan slave trade in the 7th century after the Roman era, which explains the increased amount of the sub-Saharan African mitochondrial haplogroups in modern Egyptians. Meaning, the sub-Saharan African haplogroups and DNA are newcomers. According to the same study, that 8% sub-Saharan African DNA increase doesn't deny the substantial genetic continuity between modern and ancient Egyptians. To sum it up, 1. The ancient Egyptians were not affected genetically by the foreign rule. 2. The ancient Egyptians had Middle Eastern DNA, not sub-Saharan African. 3. The modern Egyptians have undeniable genetic continuity with the ancient Egyptians.